Hello and welcome into Big Talk, college sports with a Midwest perspective, blue collar and blue blood. I'm Dalton Shetler. That's Sam Sprunger. Ready for another edition of Big Talk. You got quite the smile on your face. You seem giddy to go.
I almost made the worst mistake. Like at the end of that intro music, I realized I hadn't put us into the stream yet. So like it would have come up just the background and silence. And I did this just a couple weeks ago, I think with Tony and me on the show, that I forgot to put us in. And it's like, well, that doesn't do a darn bit of good. So yeah, little humor, behind the scenes humor starting out the morning.
We're here though, so that's what counts. That's what matters.
It's an A for effort. Come on, I mean, we're almost in summer school. We should be wrapping the school year up, right?
Yeah, that's right. And with it being summer, I suppose maybe we can forewarn the listeners from the top. Next week is another Dalton vacation week, so Dalton is out next week.
Shocker.
Yeah. I will be bouncing around. I got a pretty busy, so like for whatever reason with the summer vacations this year, like everything is happening in like a week and a half to 2 weeks for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that's usually the way it works. Like you get a certain amount of time and you're like, well, I need to do this, and oh wow, it's all in a week and a half.
So tomorrow I will be down in Columbus at Ohio State, the football stadium, because there's a concert going on with Warren Zeiders, Little Big Town, Chris Stapleton, and George Strait. So
almost bought tickets for my wife for that.
Did you really?
Almost.
It's a dandy. I'm pretty excited for it.
I would have went, but I wouldn't have. Yeah, Stapleton would have been my thing. That would have been it. I'm not a country fan, Dalton. Quit staring at me like I got a third arm growing out of my forehead.
The king is performing. You cannot. I will not
Elvis
take
Presley
this
died in
disrespect.
1977. Don't. Let's not be talking this.
This show could not have started off on a worse note than how we just did.
I touched a nerve.
Nobody disrespects George Strait. I proposed to my wife with George Strait in the background.
That would be okay. So there's sentimental reasons, and you enjoy that because of that.
He's the king.
He's the king. I am not a country fan. Okay, get off of me. Jeez,
I'm so upset right now. Okay, let's start. We'll start talking about sports
soon.
Yeah, I don't know. This might be the final edition
of
Big Talk. This.
Says the guy who never has seen a movie. Jeez, come on.
But we do have some things to get into today besides just Dalton's vacation plans and schedule.
And him griping at me for not liking George Strait.
That's just bizarre. I've never heard a worse take on this show's history. But
wow,
we do have some things to get into. Big Ten baseball tournament is in progress. There's only a couple days left of the baseball tournament. We'll talk a little bit about that. We were talking beforehand. The NCAA softball tournament is underway, and
big upset there.
Absolutely, and there's only one Big Ten team remaining, and that's Northwestern. They'll be going tonight. We can talk about that in a little bit. Some Big Ten things in the news. We already have a kickoff time for this upcoming season in Big Ten football, which is rare.
Come on, that music is.
I am excited for that. Oh, yeah,
and to have it correlating with Big Ten football now is just like.
Well, the best part was Big Ten Twitter when it was announced that CBS was going to have with Big Ten, just taking that theme music and mashing it up with a bunch of Big Ten punters. Yeah, and I was like, well,
but it's still you put Big Ten football with that theme song, and it's like, yeah, the world is a little bit better now.
It's going to be really exciting. So we'll get into some of those things and what's going on with sports TV and some of the different things with the Big Ten TV contract later in the show. Maybe we should start though, Sam, with Big Ten baseball, because that's the current thing actually.
I thought you were going to say the big news about the video game, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, well, we'll touch on that later on as well. But the Big Ten baseball tournament saw some games yesterday, although unless you were up in the wee hours of the morning, you did not catch the finish with Maryland and Nebraska. There was about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Hour and a half weather delay.
Yeah.
And so it goes to extra innings and
extras on top of them.
So it goes 10 innings. Maryland gets the win 2-1 there. You said it was a great inning. Did you catch that one?
Walk-off homer, man. You can't end a game a better way right there. Extra innings, walk-off on the walk-off HR. Come on. Yeah, I don't remember the kid's name, but it didn't make it by a lot. But it went over the fence. That's all that matters.
So Maryland continues to advance. They're one of the few teams. I think there might be two teams that haven't lost yet, and Maryland is one of those. Maryland won the Big Ten regular season. Maryland is just about the best hitting team that exists right now. But what's so funny about that
period?
Well, I don't know enough about the rest of the country, so I don't want to just throw that statement out there. But
come on. Take Nebraska, Dalton. Take Nebraska. Yeah.
Well, and it's so funny though, because there's such a hot hitting team, but in game one of this tournament, they win 3-2 against Michigan State,
of course,
and then last night they win 2-1 against Nebraska. So they've been playing a little bit more on the lower end of the scoreboard. But I remember talking with the Big Ten SID, and we were talking about Maryland, and he said, "Look, I think in a week they played 5 games and scored 88 runs,
which is just mind blowing to me. It just
that's how good they are.
That's stupid numbers, is what that is.
Yeah."
And here's the thing: you talk about the two examples from the tournament where they won low. That sign to me that even when they struggle, they're doing things right to get enough, at least producing enough to win games. And then you're going to get the 17-4, or the 15-6 or whatever. They're just, when their bats are on, they're blowing people out, but they're still playing strong enough defensively and producing just enough offensively to win those close games. So I mean, shoot, they just missed going in. I mean, they lost out in the super regional, I think last year to UConn, wasn't it? Or somebody, it was a controversial ending play. Or something like that didn't allow them to advance. So like they've got a good team. They've got a good team returning. So they won the regular season Big Ten. So they're not a slouch. Now, granted, we don't always see Big Ten teams make it to Omaha, but it happens. Last one might have been what IU was.
I think Michigan did it a few years back.
Yeah, you're right. Michigan did it a few years back. I forgot. Got to remember Schwarber was a few years ago. Seeing that he was on the 2016 World Series champs. So,
Well, hey, you say the year 2016. I believe that's the last time Michigan State had a Big Ten tournament win until yesterday.
They won?
Because in an elimination game, they defeated Rutgers 6-4. So Michigan State stays alive.
Still fighting the fighting Sparties.
That's right.
And their weird right field. I don't understand that. I was watching some highlights from last weekend, and it reminds me of what Minute Maid Park used to look like when the Astros first moved in.
Had that hill out there in center.
Makes no sense whatsoever, but I guess they have their reasons. I don't know what it is, but
well, literally,
let's put a hill. Let's put an obstacle in our outfielders' ways. Let's do that.
Just on the other side of that fence is the Red Cedar River. And so that made things complicated when they built that ballpark.
Pick a different spot of land to build a baseball field. How about that?
Those are current conversations that could happen later down the road.
I can't imagine what heavy rain time happens. Oh, well, we'd play, but our right field's underwater.
They had to move games earlier this year because everything was it was flooded. Like the entire field was flooded.
Plain. That's what the area next to a river does. It floods when it rains a lot.
So as you mentioned, pick a different spot. That is a conversation that's happening. So we'll see if that ever ends up.
At least it's in the works. At least take whatever historical names you want to take and move it with the park. Just move it with the park. Because you know what? We picked poorly when we originally made the location for this field. Poor.
But back to the point for yesterday,
Yes.
Michigan State gets the win. No, you're good. Michigan State gets a win 6-4 against Rutgers to stay alive.
And they had to fight to get in.
Yes.
So they're playing good baseball. Good-ish baseball.
Spartans had to beat Indiana a couple of times and hope for Purdue's downfall to be able to get in, and both things ended up happening. So Michigan State did make it in. So it's 4-4 in the 8th inning. Bases loaded. Rutgers then walks in 2 batters. 6-4. Then Rutgers in the bottom of the 9th had runners on first and second, I want to say, with 1 or 2 outs and just couldn't finish. Michigan State threw its closer, Wyatt Rush, for I think 4 1/3 inning in that game yesterday.
Wow. So they went to the well early. They're like, we're shutting this down early.
So Wyatt came in. Wyatt threw a heck of a game. I don't know what it means for Wyatt and the rest of the tournament, because that arm has to be tired.
Well,
but
you get to an elimination point, though. It's all hands.
You got to play for the next day. Yeah, no, it's
you can't
the right
yourself.
Managerial decision. No, we're completely on the same page. It's the right decision, but I don't know what it means for today when they play Nebraska.
Yeah, that's just it. You don't play for tomorrow, Dalton. You play for today. You win today. Worry about tomorrow.
Well, and now tomorrow's here, so that's what.
Yeah, now we're here. Now they've got to figure it out. Yes, and I would think that if it gets to the point where they needed him at 70% or whatever he would be considered, then I'm sure that they would, use him accordingly. But they're not going to just go, well, we need you, and throw you out there for another 3 innings until his arm falls off. But they need an out or whatever. I'm sure he can muster up a little in the tank.
So they'll be playing Nebraska tonight. That is, I believe, 8:00 Eastern. Yes, 8:00 Eastern that they'll be playing. At 3:00 Eastern is the other game today, and that's Indiana and Michigan. This is an elimination game as well. One of these teams will be going home, so we'll see who ends up winning that one there. I mentioned that Maryland's one of the teams that hasn't lost yet. The other team is Iowa. Iowa is just blowing up,
which is kind of an unexpected. Like they're good. You expected them to compete, but you didn't necessarily expect them to be one of the last 2 undefeateds.
Mm-hmm. So they beat Michigan 13-3 in the first game.
Awesome.
And then they defeated Indiana, the 2nd seed in this tournament, 9-4 yesterday. And I believe Iowa only had 1 run in the 7th inning. Like until the 7th inning, and then they just exploded.
You mean the Iowa offense exploded?
Different sport, so that's the good news.
Oh, okay. You mean they scored more? Never mind.
But yeah, so now Iowa and Maryland are waiting to see who they end up playing. Maryland's going to end up playing one of the teams they've already played. They're going to play the winner between Maryland and Nebraska, or Michigan State and Nebraska that played today. Meanwhile, Iowa will play the winner between Indiana and Michigan, so they got the same deal. They're going to play somebody they've already beat as well.
These brackets totally just mess me up, because I am so used to back in my day, playing in tournaments and stuff, double elimination tournaments, that you had a winner's bracket, which was the original bracket, and teams just played out until they had a champion of the winner's bracket. And every time a team lost, they went into the loser's bracket. So then each losing team from each game would fill into a spot, and then you would have, at the end of it, the winner's bracket and loser's bracket. The loser's bracket team had to win twice to win the whole thing. What happened to this?
Times are changing. Times are changing.
I don't understand. You got 2 undefeated teams. Have them play each other. Then you only have 1 undefeated team.
Right.
Then, because what happens if both those undefeated teams go into play against each other? Is it just 1 game and wins it, or does the team have to win 2 games?
So if the 2 undefeated teams end up playing each other, it will just be a single elimination on Sunday, if I read that correctly.
Come on. Let's come on. Just play it out. Winners against winners, and then bring the loser's winner into the end of it. Why not? I love a double elimination bracket. I do, because once you lose, every game's an elimination. You've got to win or go home. I love that.
Yeah.
But I love the but I guess it's because I grew up playing and coaching in that situation to where I love you have the ability at the start to not to stumble. But then after that, you've got the winner go home mentality. I love double elimination baseball. I do.
Especially at a game as fickle as baseball is, too.
Because anything can happen. Like
Yeah.
there were times when I was at Indiana Tech, I wasn't playing, but I remember Indiana Tech's baseball team going to Michigan State and beating them. So, I mean, that's an NAIA school going into a Big Ten school and beating them. That's not to say that they're on par with them, but it can happen anytime.
It's just that kind of random at times. The game is.
Sometimes it can be controlled by one person, and that's the person throwing the ball. And then other times it's just offense.
Let's switch from baseball to softball, staying on the diamond for a moment, because as we mentioned, NCAA softball taking place right now, the postseason. We are in the super regionals, and as we mentioned, there's only one Big Ten team still in action. Northwestern will be taking on Alabama tonight. That's at 8:00 Eastern time. And that'll also be on ESPN2 if you.
No, that's in Evanston, isn't it? Aren't they the host?
Let me check.
I thought they were. Maybe I'm incorrect. I know they hosted the regional at least, didn't they?
They did host the regional. I'm not so sure that they're hosting the super regional, but I will find out where that game is being played here in just a minute. Okay. But I will also tell people, because as we mentioned, it's an 8:00 first pitch on ESPN2. Northwestern's pitcher, Danielle Williams, she's worth the watch. So if you got time, check it out tonight, because she is phenomenal. She threw an absolute beauty of a performance in the Big Ten softball tournament, and she's been consistent throughout her entire career. So that game is down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Oh, well, okay, Alabama's the host regional, or host people, whatever. I don't Go Wildcats. Let's keep the woo.
So we'll see if Northwestern can rep the Big Ten and get a win tonight against Alabama.
But UCLA getting beat in the regional without winning a game. The number 2 seed overall nationally.
And that's the second straight year we've had a monumental upset like that in softball. And I believe, look, especially as we talk about the evolution of different sports, when it comes to women's sports, the biggest thing, I'm not so sure if it's just celebrity and stardom, like what we're seeing in women's basketball with Caitlin Clark and all the different names that are taking place, or if the biggest win for women's sports has just been parity. When you start seeing upsets like UCLA going home and anybody could win the game, like they're in softball, or like in women's basketball, where you can't just go chalk filling out your bracket anymore.
Which many years you could.
Many years you
could.
Like I think the development of parity and that element has been maybe the biggest booster of women's sports. Maybe not the biggest, because I mean resources, investment, like you can absolutely have that conversation, but that's been one of the biggest things to make women's sports more entertaining to a casual fan, I would say, than maybe many other variables have.
Well, I think what's brought a lot of parity too is obviously NIL is one thing that helps parity, because now you don't have to go necessarily to the big schools to be get the exposure. Mm-hmm. Then also, technology and social media, quick hits, reels, those types of things have also made the expansion to this is all in my opinion. There's no science or any sort of study based on this, but it just is my thought process that, now it doesn't matter where you are, you will be found. You know what I mean? So you don't necessarily need to go to UConn or to Baylor or to Tennessee to be exposed to, hey, oh my gosh, this person's doing some great things. You get those quick hits on social media. It doesn't matter where you're at, and now it's one of those that I never was a big fan of, like travel ball, any sort of travel ball. And it's because, it's how to say this, unless you're one of the standouts, it's not necessarily a make or break career move for you, so, but it's gotten to the point now, if you're good enough, you'll be found. It doesn't matter where you're at, because now it's instant news.
And just as human evolution takes place, I mean, look, like athletically, like you see the guys in the NBA now and how they move, jump. Like, I mean, we can all argue, and I prefer the older version of the NBA as well. But there's no denying that people are bigger, faster, stronger than they've ever been before. They jump higher, everything across the board.
Sure.
And the same evolution is taking place in the women's game where you have high school girls that are dunking consistently in games,
which is unheard of too, Dalton, because like I can remember me. I'm considerably older than you. I'm not old. I'm not like, 1 foot in the grave yet, but I'm considerably older than you. I mean, I'm a good, close to 20 years older than you. But to the point is, I can remember when it was a big deal that a female was dunking the ball.
Yep.
Like it was a big deal that it happened in a game.
Yep.
Can't even remember. It might have been Shamika Holzcall that I remember the first one that did it in a game. And I was like, wow. Now it's coming. It's not every day.
No.
But it's more consistent than it was. So you're absolutely right. That evolution is happening even in the women's side as well.
And I think it's making for a better product, as you would expect.
Yeah,
like it's
absolutely.
I think just the human evolution of it has made it pretty entertaining. So somehow we ended up there. I don't even remember how we got to.
It's being grown up. You go on tangents and don't remember how you get there.
Oh, we were talking about UCLA being upset and the parody
Tom Brady's
being
niece.
That's
Tom
right.
Brady's niece got upset.
I forgot about that whole thing last year. Well, and that's the beauty too, is last year the Women's College World Series just was so entertaining, following Oklahoma the entire time. I'm really excited after the Super Regionals to really jump back in and get invested in that World Series for
Do the winners
softball.
of the Super Regional get a cape?
It's a very dad joke from Sam hitting there.
Come on, why not? Why not make that the trophy for the Super Regional? You get a cape because you went to the Super Regional.
Okay,
you get a plaque for the regional,
and then a
for
cape
the Super Regional. Just a little cape to put on the back of your trophy. Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right, we got a couple other things we want to talk on.
Telephone booth with a cape on the back. I don't care. Something cool. Come on.
We wanted to talk about TV contracts taking place. We wanted to talk about some of these things. Maybe let's start with the current news that's somewhat tied to this. Yeah. It was announced, and we mentioned we have a kickoff time for the upcoming football season. That doesn't happen often in May, but we do know that there's going to be a night game, not on Saturday at the end of the season like we first anticipated it was first scheduled, but Michigan State and Penn State going to be the final regular season game for both of those programs. That was supposed to be in East Lansing.
It's not anymore.
That has since been moved to Detroit and will be played at Ford Field, and it will be played on Black Friday night on NBC. What are your first thoughts when you hear this big game?
I like it. I really do. I like, and here's one thing. They're going to compete with some NFL doing that. And you know what? I think I would prefer to watch the college game because I don't make it a secret that while I do enjoy NFL football, it's not my football of choice. So I'll watch I absolutely never mind. The day before is when the Lions
would play. Yep.
I'm like, wait a second. Are they doing 2 games in one day? No, it's the next day. Never mind.
It'll be busy at Ford Field because you have the Lions Thursday, you have Michigan State Friday, and then you have the MHSAA playing their state championships over the weekend. So it's going
Saturday,
to be busy.
Good Lord. Yeah, there's they're going to be, well, I guess the grounds crew will be busy trying to switch things out. Unless
pounding coffee just like we are right now.
Unless Michigan State just decides they're going to play on the Lions field, and I guess they can't be picky, I guess. But I like the move. I do. yeah, you open it up to a little bit more of a, like, people going Black Friday shopping. Hey, let's hit the Michigan State Penn State game up at the end of the day or whatever, and wrap up their Black Friday. People at home that don't necessarily want to watch the NFL would prefer to watch some college ball. Absolutely, let's watch it.
And there's a lot of Lions and Michigan State fans.
Oh, sure.
Like there are a lot of Lions and Michigan fans as well. But the idea maybe for some of them that don't often go to these games, hey, we can go to the Lions Thursday and then we can go see Michigan State Friday.
And then our son plays in the state championship game on Saturday. Make it a weekend.
Right. Yeah. Just living at Ford Field.
Yeah.
But I think that's a bonus. Look, I've been to a lot of the senior day games over the years at Michigan State. The weather usually isn't the most cooperative.
You're in a dome here.
Now you're going to be in a dome. I think the accessibility, I think the platform, as we talked about, I think that's big. I do understand there has been criticism. I do understand season ticket holders griping a bit about it.
Now, do the season ticket holders have to then pay for those seats as well?
So
they get granted a certain amount towards tickets or something?
So I haven't read the full details of it. I'll throw that disclosure first, but I believe they've been offered refunds for that game, the parking pass, everything. And I believe they'll have one of the first rights to get tickets for Detroit. But there's still certain variables I know that they're a little touchy about and whatnot. But nonetheless, I think this is going to be a really, really great game for the Big Ten. And it also goes to show, again, as there's news about the Big Ten TV contract, this is one of those big pieces that was promised to the onboarding TV partners of, hey, look, we'll be able to build up these prime games, make these special games and deliver them for you. And now the Big Ten, really thanks to Michigan State and Penn State's flexibility, able to help deliver on that promise here on this front.
So was this originally scheduled for Saturday, though?
Yes.
So they flexed it to a Friday even.
They flexed it to a Friday and flexed it to Ford Field instead of Michigan State. Yeah.
So I totally get the want and the appeal for the senior day to be on campus, because that's where those players have spent their 4 years or 5 or 6, depending on whatever their status.
Nowadays you can do 12.
Yeah, 17-year veteran, whatever. But my thought on that one is I get that there's a special meaning, but that doesn't take away the fact that you're still having a senior day. It's going to be a lot nicer of a weather because you've got climate control, and you get to play at Ford Field. I mean, don't get me wrong, you play at big venues anyways at a major college, but still there's still something about going to a professional setting and getting to play in that. It just hits a little different. I think it's one of those that there's some really historic places they're going in college, but you still get that that different feel when it's a professional setting. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you. I think there's plenty of pros. The most intriguing thing to me about seeing this has been the reaction, and there has been zero room for nuance on this. It feels like there has just been like a Michigan State. I saw somebody on Twitter call it their own civil war, where like people are like up in arms and feel very passionate one way or the other. And look, I think there are pros. I think there are cons. And I ultimately think this is more positive than negative. But I do see that there's room for nuance in this one, where people are very passionate about this.
Well, it's one. I don't know. I get both sides, but I'm with you on that. I think I would prefer it the way that they're doing it this year, compared to guaranteeing that it's going to be every other year. It's going to be the day after Thanksgiving or the weekend after Thanksgiving, and more than likely there's going to be snow or crappy weather. It's going to be cold and miserable on your senior day. Okay, so well, occasionally we'll make it on Black Friday and at Ford Field. Okay.
The good news too is that one's going to be on NBC and Peacock. That's not one of the Peacock NBC exclusive games.
That means free. When you hear the 3 letters, that's the free version of it.
Yeah, or the one you're already paying for. Maybe we should clarify with cable. Like you're already paying for those games. But as we talked a little bit or teased a little bit, and we didn't get into last week, part of the TV contract, as much as we know, because a big part of the news this last week has been that there are some missing elements to those TV contracts. But as we understand now, 8 games a year for the Big Ten, at least this year, will be on Peacock, streamed exclusively, so you can't watch it with your cable provider. You have to have the app to watch those 8 games. As we mentioned, this Michigan State Penn State, that's not one of them. That one's going to be on NBC. But these 8 games that'll be streamed on Peacock. Sam, I'm curious, what do you think about the stream exclusive football games for the Big Ten?
So I'm just young enough that it doesn't bother me near as much as what I could understand it probably bothering some older people. Because I've heard it said, and it's perfect, they're the one button generation. They want to hit a one button and have their games on. They don't want to have to go through several steps. Now
you see on the internet, like people that are at their grandparents' house and they duct tape all the buttons besides like channel, up, down, power. Like that's kind of what we're talking about here.
And you know what? I'm not damning those people because they've grown into that. They're at a certain age. They don't want to have to learn anything. I get it. What I think those people are going to start being, less and less because of various reasons. They're not going to watch TV any longer. Let's say it that way. But my point is there's got to be a happy medium. There has to be, like how Spotify, no free ads, there is free to a certain extent, but you have to listen to so many ads or whatever per hour to be able to, have the free spot. Now I pay for my premium, and so I get, perks to that. Can't there be something to where NBC does a free version of the game that maybe is watered down and still you can watch it or whatever, and then have the extra version on Peacock and make that exclusive to where, oh, hey, I can watch 2 different versions of it. I can watch from the hovering, camera or whatever as one thing, kind of like how ESPN does the national championship game, where they've got 85,000 different variations of the national championship game. Make that pay version.
It's funny that you mentioned ESPN because news broke this week that in however many years, ESPN, there are intentions to be a straight to consumer product and bypassing the cable providers. We are getting ready to see a seismic shift in the way we consume sports TV and our viewing habits and the way that the market is going. Because on one hand, as we're talking about Peacock with being streamed exclusively, that already exists in different corners of the sports world.
Oh, yeah.
Soccer. I believe it's the MLS that's streamed exclusively on Apple TV. Like this has already been tested. Some Notre Dame's had a couple of one-off games the last couple of years that has been streamed exclusively on Peacock. And I believe this year their game with Central Michigan is streamed exclusively on Peacock. So they're still experimenting with that a little bit. The NFL wild card this year, it's getting into the NFL playoffs. There will be a playoff game streamed exclusively. Look, I don't know because I don't believe we've seen any of the data that comes back, the analytics that have come back from some of these different experiments. But something has these TV executives bold and confident enough that you are so consumed and addicted to your sports television that you are going to, no matter what, make that move, and you are going to buy those subscriptions just to watch those games. Like that's a bold play, Sam, but that's where we're at.
It makes me think of a Tom Petty song that it's 2002, I guess is it's called The Last DJ. And what it is it's talking about, how corporate entities have taken over the music industry. This is talking about music industry, and they're talking about all of a sudden they're being forced to tell to do what the corporate's telling. But the one line is in here the executives are trying to see how much you'll pay for what you used to get for free. That's exactly the age we're in right now when it comes to our consumption of sports. It's what we used to get for free, because NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox to a certain extent used to always be on the Farmer 5.
Mm-hmm.
You could get that just the airwaves. You still can get it. It's digital airwaves now, but it's still free. But now there's less and less of the good stuff on the free version. And how much are you going to pay to be able to watch what you used to be able to watch all the time? And that's the issue. That it's like, I get capitalism and the want to, but at what point is it too much? And I think that's where the one button pushers you're gonna start losing them, just because they don't want to have to go find it. They'll just stop watching.
I think it's important to note here too that to understand the landscape of this, these companies are currently losing money investing on the streaming end, but there is enough foresight by these companies that they see that eventually it's all going to be cutting the cable and it's all going to be direct to consumer. That's why the news about ESPN's intentions, like actually reported and coming out, goes to show like that's a good earmark to see where we are in this progression, this evolution to shifting the way that we watch TV. But so all these companies are still investing, even though they're losing currently on these streaming services, because they see this as the future and they want to be there from the ground up. One of the big companies that carry Big Ten sports and carry many other sports that has decided not to, they've decided to use their streaming service as a simulcast, but not necessarily as an exclusive, is Fox Sports. So it'll be interesting in watching these big TV networks who's kind of jockeying around in this race, because NBC's in the game with Peacock. We've seen ESPN Plus make a big splash. CBS Sports has been in there. So I'm kind of interested to see how this all shakes.
See, that's why I think, honestly, I personally think, and the younger generations want to see different avenues of consumption. Okay, so they want to see, a simulcast or a broadcast of the game being a small window of all the live tweets about the game, all about a side conversation between two announcers or whatever, but you still got the game going on. That to me opens it to, but you have the one button pushers that want to just watch the game. So which to me, why it makes more sense to me to simulcast it, to where, okay, you're going to get the free watered down version, and that's just what we've traditionally seen on the free version. And you're free to consume it that way, but you're going to get all the commercials. You're not going to get any of the extra stuff. You're going to get this. But if you want to pay some more, guess what? You get the 7 different options of being able to watch the game up in the corner with the Mannings having a conversation with Barack Obama or whoever, or whatever, while they're watching the game, while they're reacting to the game, while live tweets are going underneath. And then you've got people who just want to watch the game. Why isn't that it to me would lend that they would make a lot more money, because you have the younger generation that says, yeah, it's worth $5 or $10 or whatever to be able to watch that version rather than the watered down version that I don't want to sit there and try to analyze. I want to have them telling me, the good conversation. It makes more sense to me to be simulcast rather than just, well, we're going exclusively behind a paywall, because honestly, I'm just old enough. I probably won't pay it if I haven't already started paying for the service.
So that's what I was going to get to, because it's also interesting that this comes on the heels of just a couple of days ago that my email inbox receives a letter from Netflix saying that you need to only keep the Netflix account in your household. If it's in other places, you're going to be starting to be charged an extra $8 a month on top of whatever it is, $15, $16 they're charging already per month.
They're going to start charging other people for using your
like
your
I mean, Netflix is really starting to play kind of subscription police, and so it's interesting as this is a really interesting time for this. But the real question does come down to what games would you watch and pay a subscription service for? Look, Michigan,
Look
Ohio.
up over my shoulder right now, right? You see all that Cubs stuff?
Uh-huh.
Majority of their games are Marquee Network. I don't have the Marquee Network, and I'm a diehard Cubs fan.
Well, and I was going to say, and a lot of people would point and say, well, that's because there's 162 of them on that one, and there's only like 12 weekends. But it might to some other people. Some other people.
Yeah,
I mean, that's part of the beauty of football.
I don't argue that there is less to consume, so it makes it a little bit more appealing
and higher stakes every game. There's higher stakes.
But at the same time, even if the Bears were on an exclusive, I live in an area now. The Bears aren't on the free version of TV now, so I would have to pay for it. I don't pay for it. I just don't.
So are there, and you've already confessed or admitted that the Big Ten, the college product, you enjoy more than the NFL. Correct. What games would have to be on this Peacock stream subscription exclusive service? Like, it's not going to happen, but let's say Michigan and Ohio State's on Peacock. Final game of the season, winner's going to go to a Big Ten championship game. If that doesn't get you, I don't know where to start this bar. Like, I think this is just, you're not going to pay for it if it's no.
The only way I would pay for it is if Purdue's in the Final Four. you know, like that would be Purdue, Ball State, those schools that I have rooting interest in, because the rest of it, here's the thing. I can watch this, not the simulcast, but like the ESPN version where they just box score it. I can consume it that way and be okay with it. I don't have an issue. I'm in a very small crowd, I think, because I love college football, but I pay enough money for the things that I should get some. I'm going to watch what I can already got. I'm not going to pay extra necessarily. It'd have to be one heck. I wouldn't even pay for the Super Bowl, dude. If they forced me to pay for the Super Bowl, I wouldn't even pay for the Super Bowl.
Well, I wonder if
unless the Bears were in it, and even then, I don't know.
That ends up being a pay-per-view. Like John Skipper, actually, matter of fact, had said that a couple years ago, I think on the Dan Lebitard show, that eventually we're looking at a Super Bowl pay-per-view down the road. Like, that's the adjustment, the evolution that's going to be happening here. But what I find interesting is what you just said is a habit that I've created, and I don't know if other people are like you and I in that regard, where, like, look, there's a lot of football on a college football Saturday. Yeah. You can't possibly watch everything. I've grown used to some of the games. Like, I can't sit there and watch for 4 hours because I'm at an actual game or whatever. I have gotten very comfortable with consuming games from social media, clips, news, tweets, releases, media. Like, I've been able to follow along from that regard and understand the story of each game to the point where, look, if it comes down to I need to pay extra money for a game that I don't really want to see, never mind. I'll consume it through social media. Like, so I don't know if there's enough people like us, though.
I doubt it, because I don't know if you're like me, but I would rather listen to a game on the radio than I would.
A win for radio. We love to hear it
on TV, because I'm not handcuffed to a television then. Mm-hmm. I can put it on my phone, stream it on my phone. I pay $20 a year, and this is where I get my Cubs baseball.
I think it's 30 now.
No, it was 20. Oh, well, maybe I'm grandfathered in. I don't know, because it was $20 I was charged this year for the At-Bat app, and I get every single radio broadcast of every single Major League Baseball game. I can listen to any broadcast that I want. I can listen to it in Spanish if I choose. It doesn't matter. I can consume it that way, and I can mow my lawn while listening to the Cubs game. I can work in my shop listening to the Cubs. I don't have to sit there and watch TV. I would prefer to consume my sports via the radio, because I can be doing multiple things.
Now,
So that's how I consume most of my sports.
If a majority was like you or me in the way they do this, this is going to fall flat on the people making these decisions. They're banking on that there aren't enough people that or that maybe we'll go back on our word or we'll go back on our habits. But we'll see. I mean, time will tell.
Too many things in my life going on that worry about whether or not I'm paying $20 to watch a football game. If I wanted to pay money to watch a football game, I'd go to it.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I'm not going to the Michigan-Ohio State game for $20, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
yes. If you're going to invest that kind of money, you want even a higher experience. So no, I totally get it.
Which is why I think the simulcast would be better, because if I'm going to pay for it, I'm getting something other than just being honored to watch, or given the honor to watch the game. I should be able to watch the game because I pay for the network's basic package. If I want the enhanced version, then let me pay for it. To me, it makes more sense, because why would you want to alienate 40% of your consumers? Because you're going to probably lose. You're going to lose the one button pushers, and then you're going to lose the people like me who says, yeah, I can listen to it on the radio. Why not?
Yep.
I don't care.
No, I completely get it. It's going to be fascinating to watch it play out and see what the reaction is, because we're talking about some big games. You're not just going to put the snoozers on. It was
they're not putting Rutgers, Minnesota on there. They're putting big games in there.
So it'll be fascinating. It'll be fascinating to see. But we didn't even get to all the topics we had planned.
You want to touch upon the one topic? We've got a few minutes. We can talk about the video game if you want.
That one scares me. There's a report out there on Twitter that the new NCAA football video game, they will be including the transfer portal, and immediately Twitter just went to comedy show. I mean, they started just putting out there, if I lose a 2-star that I turn into a player to go to Alabama and be a part of their championship, I'm done. I'm unplugging. So, like, the frustrations that have lived in our reality for many college fans and coaches
come into video games,
they're going to join us in the fantasy world too.
But how in depth? Like, it's been reported that it's going to be included. But at what depth? Like, is it going to be stupid like that to where you develop a 2-star into a 4-star and then he's like, oh, I'm going to Michigan?
I'm with the pop-up that says, Coach X offered a Lamborghini and $50,000. So you lost your player in the portal to.
He's in the portal.
Yeah.
After a game against Nebraska.
So I don't know how they even work. Like, the transfer portal is so complicated in real life. I don't know how you can actually make it like functional in a video game, but
that's why I think it's going to be a basic. If they do indeed incorporate it, which I think they have to, honestly.
No, I get that.
It makes the game like the actual game, like the actual, college world. But how in depth are they gonna make it stupid like that to where after a Thursday night game in the MAC, your guy decides he's leaving and going to the portal, and is that gonna happen? Maybe. I don't know.
Do you have to start reading your players' Twitter feeds to see what their feelings are? Like,
that's gonna be it. Yeah.
What this really
they want to make it as close to real as possible, but let's not make it so real that you're so sickened by it after 3 weeks.
I was going to say, what this might end up doing is giving us a bit of a view into the life it is as a college football coach in 2023, and we might all gain a little perspective.
Are you saying you might feel sorry for Nick Saban?
Boy, sorry's a hard reach. That's I don't know if I feel sorry for too many people.
Poor guy doesn't know how to handle the NIL thing, because he's never had to worry about the players not wanting to come to Alabama.
Yeah,
I feel sorry for the guy. He's only got so many rings. I mean, he's got to fill up them fingers.
I will say, though, it is like I think a big part of there, or maybe one of the most telling signs, is so many people used to want to coach in college versus the NFL because they wouldn't have to deal with certain things. Now, if you took a poll so many of those coaches would rather be in the NFL than in college because of all the complications that come with college football.
Well, it's gotten worse, when the portal and NIL comes in with basically, no rules. I mean, vague rules. It becomes worse than what, dealing with NFL players who have contracts that say they get paid a certain amount. It's kind of the wild, wild west where, oh, hey, Nestle came through with, $10,000 more, all of a sudden I'm, whatever. I'm getting in the transfer portal because, Xbox offered me so much to go to, this school or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
There are no rules.
So we'll see how the college football video game kind of weighs the waters.
I hope they don't ruin it, but at the same time, yeah, okay, let's make it as close to real as possible, just to
don't make me actually stress while I'm playing the video game.
Correct. Right? Like, let's not do that. But oh gosh. But I'm interested. Now they said transfer portal. Does that automatically include NIL?
I'm not sure. We'll have to see. I'm sure we'll get more reports.
I'm sure there will be another leaked announcement of NIL will be involved too, and then that will really make some people upset.
Yeah, and it should be great times playing the video game. We'll see. We'll see how it all.
Alexis.
We'll see how this all shapes out. But that's going to do it for another edition for us here at Big Talk. Before, just in case Sam wants to chime in here, so before we actually say goodbye, wanted to offer everybody a happy Memorial Day weekend. Yes. Everybody go enjoy the weekend while you're flipping the burgers, the brats, or out on your boat, on the lake, whatever it is you have planned for the weekend. Just take a moment and think about those that have been lost, or like at Michigan State, they've done a great job in honoring the prisoner of wars and missing in action with some honor chairs planted throughout the campus at the different athletic facilities. So just take a moment while you're having the extra Monday off.
Let's understand too, everybody. This is not me being a history teacher. I want you to be correct. Do not think a veteran. This is not Veterans Day. This is Memorial Day. This is a day to remember those who have lost their lives or have served their country and are no longer serving their country in keeping us our country the way that free and whatnot. But the veterans get their own day in November. Thank them in November. It's those that have served and either lost their lives or have ended their careers as a serviceman. They're the ones that get memorialized.
I was going to say, well, and to kind of pony up or follow up on that, there's never a bad day to thank a veteran, but what Memorial Day is for.
Yes, it's and I forget what it was. It's not technically to say Happy Memorial Day, because when you're memorializing something, it's not necessarily the happiest of days, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
We on my other show, actually, we had a holiday historian, and we came up with a way that you're supposed to say it, and now I can't remember. So
I was going to say that would have been helpful.
Yeah, I know. I wish if you would have given me the notes, I would have maybe looked it up before that. No, it's not happy, but there's a way to say it that have a
hits the tone better
or something. Yeah, it strikes it better, but we get what you're saying. So therefore, yes, absolutely. But Veterans Day is in November. Memorial Day is in the one we're getting ready to. Yeah. While you're grilling, remember why we get that weekend. So it's not just a great way to have a weekend. There is a reason behind it. So yeah. Enough of my teaching preaching.
Well, why don't you instruct the viewers and listeners where they can find us?
I still haven't added the TikToks because I keep forgetting about it. But on Instagram and the Twitter, it is at B1G_talk. So Big Talk, B1G_talk. Big Talk. That's for Instagram and for the Twitter. B1G Talk for Facebook. Big Talk, obviously. Then we're still through July. We're on ASAP Network once a week. We are in a new network, but it's the same show, Dalton. Lounge Media Group. We have moved to under their umbrella from our previous network. If you want to watch the video, you can hit up Spotify, or you can find the audio version anywhere you find podcasts.
Perfect. All right. So that does it for another edition of Big Talk. Thank you all so much for tuning in and joining us again. Won't say happy, but try to enjoy the Memorial Day.
Have a Memorial Day. I wish I would have done my homework.
Either way, so long. Thank you all. That's Sam Sprunger. I'm Dalton Shetler. Be well.
See ya.